Welcome back. In this next portion of our show, we will be introducing you to Mr. Chris Cox and Mr. Pat Rooney. Their race is for District Judge of the 24th Judicial District Court, Division B. By coin toss, we determined that Mr. Chris Cox will be interviewed first. Mr. Cox's experience includes his having served as an assistant district attorney prosecuting criminals. He also spent 3 years as the chief operating officer of Jefferson Parish before returning to the DA's office under DA Paul Connick. Going back to his youth, he is a proud Eagle Scout. Additionally, he has an accounting degree from LSU and a law degree from Tulane University. Mr. Cox, thanks for joining us today on John Redmann, Power of Attorney.
Thank you, John. I appreciate the opportunity to be here.
Great. Now, we are short on time. We want to get right to the questions. Are you ready?
I am.
Okay, good. So first, tell us a little bit more about your background and experience that you believe sets you apart as the better person to serve as judge, and what about your past suggests you will serve this community well in the future in the role as judge.
Sure. Well, I have been admitted to the bar for 21 years next month, and virtually all of that time has been spent in public service. When I first graduated from law school, I clerked for a federal judge here in the Eastern District of Louisiana for a year. I then spent nearly 4 years working for Paul Connick as an assistant district attorney, where I got a tremendous amount of trial experience. I then practiced civil law for a very short while because, like everything in life, it's all about timing, and I got a phone call from Jim Letton, the former U.S. attorney here in the Eastern District of Louisiana, and I got a job offer to be an assistant U.S. attorney. And I was there for 6 years before leaving to become the chief operating officer of Jefferson Parish for 3. Then I returned to the district attorney's office as Paul Connick's executive ADA. I gained a tremendous amount of experience, trial experience, in my 10 years spent in the courtroom, my first 4 as an ADA, and then my 6 as an AUSA. During that time, I tried 54 jury trials in state court and an additional 12 jury trials in federal court. So 66 times I have gone through the voir dire process. And as you know, the voir dire process is the process of selecting a jury. And that's what judges do. I mean, judges preside over trials and they preside over courtroom proceedings. And I have a significant amount of courtroom experience, and I think that's what sets me apart as a candidate for judge. In addition to my jury trial experience, I also have another 52 or 53 judge trials, 52 criminal and 1 civil. So again, I think it's the courtroom experience that really sets me apart.
Okay, next question. What do you think is the most important role a judge plays in our community, a judge at civil district court, and how do you believe you are more or most qualified to fulfill that role?
Sure. Well, you mentioned civil district court.
24th Judicial District Court.
Correct.
That's what I meant to say. Sure.
So in Jefferson Parish, obviously, we handle both criminal and civil trials. The important thing for a judge is to be fair and impartial. You know, politics and partisanship has absolutely no place whatsoever in a courtroom. So it's kind of ironic that we have to go through this intensely political process in order to get there. Sure. But a judge has to be fair and impartial, and that is exactly what I will be. I have the temperament to be a judge. I am a good listener. I listen to both sides and make a decision. And that's what judges do. You may have heard the phrase before. They're like umpires. They call balls and strikes. They don't come in with preconceived notions. They simply listen to the evidence that is presented to them, and then they apply the law to the facts that they are presented with. And I am very well suited for that role.
Okay. Next question. Do you believe that all citizens have adequate access to justice, legal help in our legal system? And if not, what can be done to provide wider and better access for these folks?
Sure. That's always a concern, that some of the folks who cannot afford an attorney, you know, how do they get legal representation? It's often a question of funding, but we do have programs here in town who who will appoint attorneys to represent them. And of course, that's what you want to see happen. I mean, you want everyone to have equal access to the courtroom. And again, I will treat everyone with dignity and respect and courtesy because it's their day in court, very much their day in court, and I certainly will provide that.
Next question. What can you provide or think of and provide an example of a moment in your career where you believe you may have had to choose between your political, where you had to make a choice, you had to make a decision, and it might have been against your better political interests, but it was because it was the right thing to do. Maybe you had to make a hard decision that it might have been unpopular for lots of reasons. Might have been unpopular with your friends or unpopular with some of your political colleagues, but it was the right decision you had to make. That might help us understand a little bit more about you and how you operate in this world of being a judge.
Sure. Well, I am very, very lucky in that regard because the majority of my legal career has spent prosecuting criminal behavior. That's very easy to get motivated to go to work to do. I have never had a conflict where I thought, gee, I shouldn't be doing this or I shouldn't be doing that. It was always knowing that I was doing the right thing. Because as a prosecutor or as an assistant district attorney, you don't represent the victim, you represent the state of Louisiana or the United States of America. And your victims are your witnesses. But when you do the right thing and you bring justice or you obtain justice for the victim, it's a very fulfilling role. It's very easy to put your head on the pillow at night after a trial when a defendant has been convicted of a crime and the victim can simply say only thank you, often with a tear in her eye, just a thank you for a job well done. So again, I'm very lucky in that regard because I've always been able to do what I know is right. Well,
you bring up an interesting point with that example and that story. What about sitting as a judge in Jefferson Parish, where you're going to have criminal cases and you're also going to have cases that are not criminal, they're civil cases, and that's all kinds of disputes. Is there something about sitting as a judge that motivates you to try and resolve disputes as a judge, as opposed to being a prosecutor going after bad guys?
Sure. And just to let you know, I have civil experience as well. I spent a year as a law clerk for a federal judge. And then for the last 6.5 years, my role really has been more of general counsel or in-house counsel for the DA's office, if you will, dealing with employment law issues and various other types of issues. My motivation for being a judge is the fact that I've been in the courtroom for a significant period of time. I've seen some really good examples of judging and judges. And I've also been very lucky to have some close personal mentors who were judges, including Judge Wally Rothschild. I don't know if you remember Judge
I remember him
Rothschild.
fondly, yeah. I
I
had lots of cases in front of him.
He was just a fantastic man, a wonderful human being, and a very good judge.
And a good singer.
He was, yes he was. And he told me—
If he ever made it to some of these bar conventions. But I digress. You please, I interrupted you, I apologize.
Oh no, not at all. He told me a long time ago that he wished he had become a judge earlier in his career. He found it very fulfilling, and he told me that it's nice because you can ensure that the right thing is done. So absolutely, it's not all criminal prosecution. In many instances, you are resolving a civil dispute. And again, you listen to the evidence that is presented to you, and you apply the law without regard to bias. You apply the law to the facts. And so you can be confident that you are the one who is doing the right thing.
Well, thank you for sharing that. I do remember Judge Rothschild as a man of integrity who always tried to judge every case fair and square.
My inspiration for wanting to be a judge.
Oh, that's a fine tribute. Next question. What is your vision for the future of this court? Is there anything that you have in mind that you would like to attempt to do to make an impact while maintaining such high standards as a judge?
Well, obviously we are negotiating, or navigating rather, uncharted waters with COVID-19. And a lot of the judges are now conducting a lot of their hearings by Zoom or a teleconference. And is that the new normal? I don't know. It may be with us for quite some time. But I guess to answer your question, what I would like to do is use technology. It's obviously an ever-changing dynamic, but to use technology to make the court as efficient as possible. I intend to work hard, and I also intend to conduct a lot of status conferences in order to keep my docket moving. I intend to set trial dates and move the docket as efficiently as possible, both on the civil side and the criminal side. It might sound a little bit corny, but justice delayed is justice denied. So people want their day in court, and that's what the judge is supposed to do, to move cases towards resolution. Okay.
Well, we're just about out of time, but we do have time for one important question, which is as follows. Can you let our viewers know what your ballot number is and what your website address is, so they can find out more about you if they would like to go look that up?
Sure. My ballot number is 74, and my website is chriscoxforjudge.com. So www.chriscoxforjudge.com.
Okay, and I'm afraid we've run out of time, but we will be right back with our next guest right after this short pause.